We have powerful imagery of integration going on in the Great Sphinx of Giza. The Sphinx has been hiding something for thousands of years. In 1987, a Japanese team scanned beneath it and found hollow spaces. They detected a cavity near the right paw, exactly where a mystic predicted a secret chamber in the 1930s. But no one was allowed to dig. Then in 2025, new technology revealed what's really down there. Not just one room, but an entire underground network stretching beneath all three pyramids. If this is real, then someone built a massive underground complex before the end of the last ice age. The question nobody wants to answer is, who had that technology? And what were they hiding? The Great Sphinx sits on the edge of the desert like it has been waiting for something. With the body of a lion and the face of a man carved directly from the bedrock, it stretches about 240 feet long and rises about 66 feet high. For over 4,500 years, it has watched silently from the west bank of the Nile. Most experts say it was built around 2500 BC, likely under Pharaoh Khafre, the same ruler who built the second pyramid at Giza. But even the Egyptians who followed him didn't seem to fully understand it. By the time of Pharaoh Thutmose IV, nearly 1,000 years later, the Sphinx was already part buried in sand. According to a stone he placed between its paws, he had a dream in which the Sphinx spoke to him and promised to make him king if he cleared away the sand. That stone still stands there today and is called the Dream Stele. But here's what's strange. There's no official inscription that tells us what the Sphinx was originally called or what it was for. That silence opened the door to endless theories. Some believed it guarded something. Others believed it hid something. The deeper the mystery got, the more people felt there had to be something inside or underneath it. In the 1st century AD, the Roman author Pliny the Elder mentioned that people believed the Sphinx was hollow and held the tomb of a king named Hermes. And centuries later, during the Islamic Golden Age, stories began to spread of hidden tunnels and underground passages beneath the Sphinx and the pyramids beside it. These stories stuck. By the 1800s, European explorers were arriving in Egypt, and they were just as fascinated. In 1817, an Italian explorer named Giovanni Caviglia led one of the first major excavations. He cleared out tons of sand and reported finding tunnels near the base of the Sphinx that led into the plateau. He believed it wasn't just a statue. He believed it was connected to something much larger underground. In 1837, a British explorer named Howard Vyse wrote about the same thing. He talked about a vast system of passages linking the Sphinx with the pyramids. His notes described it like a buried labyrinth, though nothing was ever officially confirmed. Still, the idea that the Sphinx wasn't alone, that it was just the tip of a hidden iceberg, refused to die. This is where the story begins to drift into something even stranger. In the early 20th century, an American mystic named Edgar Cayce claimed that survivors from Atlantis, a mythical lost civilization, buried their knowledge in a secret chamber near the Sphinx. He said this happened around 10,500 BC, long before the time of the pharaohs. Cayce called this chamber the Hall of Records. He believed it held the forgotten history of humanity, and said it would be discovered in the late 1900s or early 2000s during a time of global crisis. According to him, once opened, the chamber would reveal the link between ancient Egypt and the lost world of Atlantis. His claims were dismissed by mainstream scholars. But he wasn't the only one fascinated by the idea. In the 1920s and 30s, occult researchers like H. Spencer Lewis published maps and diagrams that claimed to show tunnels, hidden doors, and chambers beneath the Sphinx. These weren't based on archaeology, they were mostly speculation, but they were detailed enough that people took them seriously. They helped keep the legend alive through the mid-20th century. And as the year 1998 approached, the date Cayce predicted the Hall of Records would be found, the theories picked up new energy. In the early 1920s, something began stirring in the Egyptian sands. French engineer Émile Berg had been assigned a task that few could have anticipated would lead to generations of curiosity. Between 1925 and 1936, he directed a massive excavation effort at the Giza Plateau, and the Sphinx, long buried up to its neck in sand, was finally uncovered in full. What they found wasn't just an ancient monument, but a weathered and fractured relic. With more secrets than answers, Berg noticed something unusual on the upper back of the Sphinx. A fissure or tunnel carved deep into its rump. Some believed it might be a natural crack that was later widened. Berg, unsure whether it posed danger to the structure, decided to reinforce it with stone blocks and poured cement into the cavity to stabilize it. In doing so, he unintentionally sealed away whatever lay inside. For decades, this detail remained mostly forgotten, mentioned only in obscure reports until newer generations began asking questions again. As the world sank into World War II and Egypt's archaeological priorities shifted, interest in the Sphinx slowed. But by the late 1960s, a fresh wave of curiosity returned. The rise of new scanning technologies and a growing fascination with ancient mysteries meant people were again asking what lay beneath the Sphinx. In 1978, this curiosity turned into action. The Stanford Research Institute, SRI, took the lead in investigating the Sphinx using modern equipment. The project was financially supported by the Association for Research and Enlightenment, the group founded by Edgar Cayce. The man leading the scientific work was geophysicist Dr. Lambert Dolphin. Dolphin's team brought advanced tools to Egypt, including electrical resistivity meters, seismic instruments, and ground-penetrating radar. However, the radar turned out to be less effective than hoped, because the limestone under the Sphinx was dense and full of wet clay. Still, the other instruments revealed something. Several areas beneath and around the Sphinx, especially near the paws and along the sides, showed signs of underground anomalies, zones that looked like hollow pockets or tunnels. The team sought permission to drill tiny bore holes into the bedrock, each just 10 centimeters wide, to physically inspect these signals. They were allowed to drill 5 holes, 3 in the area in front of the Sphinx near the temple, and 2 more directly around the statue. Each hole could reach up to 30 m deep if needed. What they saw through the downhole cameras was not what the believers had hoped for. Instead of vast chambers or hidden rooms, the camera showed narrow cracks, natural fissures, and pockets filled with sand and rock debris. The instruments had picked up geological features, irregularities in the stone, but nothing that looked artificial. Dolphin summarized his findings clearly. There were no major rooms, cavities, or voids under the Sphinx. His personal conclusion was even sharper. "I just don't believe there are any there." These words carried weight because Dolphin himself had originally been open to the possibility of Cayce's Hall of Records. Hugh Lynn Cayce, Edgar's son, was present during the scans, and he too admitted the results didn't support his father's prophecies. By the end of 1978, the AR suspended its search for underground vaults at the